Are you unsure on how to use some of these new Pokemon competitively? Well, allow me to lend you a helping hand. So today we're going to be talking about what I believe to probably be the most slept on Pokemon in the entire metagame right now, and that is Screamtail. Screamtail is actually insane. These Pokemon's stats are nutty, and the tools that it gets are just so incredibly helpful, and the versatility that this Pokemon has really means you can run it in so many ways that your opponent is always going to be guessing what you're going to do next. Not only does this prehistoric Jigglypuff have an incredible speed stat of 111, it also has unbelievable bulk with HP of 115, defense of 99, and a special defense stat of 115. This thing gets on the board and it stays there. Especially paired with something like an Arcanine with Intimidate, Snarls, or Will-O-Wisps, it's so hard to remove Screamtail from the battle. By only investing in speed and HP, you actually live moves like Iron Head from a choice banded Dragonite. You know Fluttermane, that Pokemon going around one-shotting everything in the metagame? Without any special defense investment, you only take 39% maximum from Moonblast. This Pokemon has so much potential and so many tools. First, I want to talk about the set that I've been running on a team, and it's so good, especially paired with a Fluttermane. Now, we're running max speed so we can outspeed those base 110 speed Pokemon. As a reminder, that's Gengar's speed tier. Now, Gengar not being the most common Pokemon, we could definitely take some stats out of speed and throw them around, though we want to be careful because we do want speed to be our highest stat, and I'll get to why in a moment. I then just dump the rest into HP and a couple points into defenses, and this Mon is just so bulky and so fast and just such a threat. Now, Screamtail does have really low attacking stats. This is not an offensive threat by any means, but constant Dazzling Gleams definitely do add up over the game, and they're really fast. So they're incredible for breaking Focus Sashes, or even finishing off a Pokemon with a Focus Sash the next turn before it can even get a move off. Oh yeah, and without any investment, it too KOs Roaring Moon because Fairy. Which actually leads me into the Terra type. I'm running it Terra Fairy. Now, I do want to test more with Terra Steel, but with Fairy, I've been able to make some crazy late game comebacks by terrestrializing this Pokemon and firing off those boosted Dazzling Gleams. It's felt pretty useful, and I do want to do more testing, but I really think this is actually pretty strong. Another good option would be something like Grass to deal with Amoonguss' Spores and Rage Powders. Now, before I get on to the other moves, I'm going to have to talk about the item we're running and why we're running it. So with this kind of a stat spread, we're running the booster energy to boost our speed. For anyone who doesn't know, that means when we come out into battle, we're going to have our speed boosted by 1.5 times. This is essentially like having a choice scarf but not being locked into a move. Though it does get consumed the first time we come out into battle, so we won't have it if we switch out and come back in again. Now that might sound crazy because I said this was paired well with a Fluttermane, and you're probably thinking why not put the booster energy on the Fluttermane? Well, you see, with a booster energy, this Pokemon outspeeds almost everything in the metagame unless it's running its own speed boost booster energy. So if you have a Pokemon with Tailwind or Icy Wind on the team handy, you can definitely make sure this thing is the fastest thing on the field when it comes out. Now the reason we want so much speed on this Pokemon is because it's able to just fire out lightning fast fake tears and encores. This Pokemon harasses so much, and it's so frustrating for the opponents to deal with because of how much control of the game it actually gives you. For example, if you're running a Choice Specs Fluttermane next to this Pokemon and you fake tears an enemy Amoonguss, Mystical Fire will one-shot that Amoonguss, which is insane. Not to mention that fast encores are just really good at controlling what the opponent wants to do. Pokemon like Dondozo wanting to set up getting encored is a really big deal for them. A member of my community tried out a team that I created with Screamtail. Now, he was hesitant at first and thought that it wasn't going to do too well. Though after playing it, he realized he was able to do things like encore a Snarling Arcanine, then switch in a King Gambit to get the Defiant boost, creating so much pressure. I'm going to have that rental code for you guys later in the video, so definitely stay tuned to check it out. Not to mention we have Protect here, and if we're able to bait out a Fake Out, we're able to encore that Pokemon into a Fake Out, meaning it can't do anything the next turn, which creates an excellent mind game. They have to read if you're going to encore them into that Fake Out, or if you're going to Fake Tears into that slot and then fire off a Specs Moonblast. This Pokemon gives so much pressure, and this is only one possible set that you could run. Screamtail gets moves like Helping Hand, it gets Light Screen, it gets Reflect. It has so much versatility, and it's hard to know what it's going to be running. Having the speed tier it has and access to an item like Booster Energy really helps this be a really strong support mon. Now, Prankster is an amazing ability, but what if something terrors into a Dark type? What if they already have a Dark type? Well, that's where a Pokemon like this comes in handy. It's really fast and it's doing what Prankster Pokemon do, but it's not blocked by those Dark type Pokemon or things like Psychic Terrain or even Farigiraf. And speaking of things like Farigiraf, if you want to counter that Trick Room Pokemon, well guess what? Screamtail learns both Imprison and Trick Room. Not to mention access to all of the weather moves. You can set Sunny Day, you can set Snowscape, Sandstorm, Rain Dance. You can set Psychic Terrain, you can set Misty Terrain. This Pokemon is so versatile and it blows my mind that I'm not seeing more of it. You can even do things like protect and disable on a lightning fast Pokemon that's actually bulky and can take those hits. It's insane to me how good this Pokemon is, and I know the offensive stats are low, so it may look underwhelming in this crazy hyper offense meta, but it's so hard to remove this Pokemon and it ends up just outlasting everything and just dealing with threats later in the game. I've even been tempted to try out Sing and put things to sleep, but that 55% accuracy terrifies me. I can't believe that this Pokemon even gets Perish Song. It even has moves like Wish, Bulk Up, Calm Mind, Amnesia, and it gets access to Baton Pass. It could actually pass these stats and this healing into another Pokemon. There is so much potential for Screamtail, and I can't wait to explore it more. Now, before I get into the team that I've been using it on, I want to ask you guys, have you tried Screamtail out? What kind of sets have you been running, and is it a Pokemon that you think is being a bit slept on in the metagame at the moment? Leave a comment below letting me know, because I really want to hear your Screamtail stories. I'm loving this Pokemon, and I genuinely believe that it has so much potential. Now onto the team, here it is on screen, and I'll briefly go over what every Pokemon's trying to do here and why I've picked the Pokemon that I have. So as I said, Screamtail paired with Fluttermane is incredibly strong. Those two together can do so much damage to a team. You can choose to double Dazzling Gleam, you can Fake Tears into Gleam, you can Encore Pokemon into moves that can't hit the Ghost type Fluttermane. Speaking of Fluttermane, if you Terra into Fairy with Choice Specs and a Moonblast, you will OHKO opposing Fluttermane. You will take out so many Pokemon because it is such a crazy boost of damage. Getting a Terra with something like a Choice item, especially with access to a faster Fake Tears Pokemon next to you, picks up so many credible knockouts, and it's something that is such a scary lead for opposing Pokemon to deal with. Now Murkrow is there for a little bit of speed control in case you verse things like Iron Bundle that are that 1 point faster than Fluttermane, running their own little booster energy. Those icy winds can be kind of frustrating, so having Tailwind is a really helpful tool. It's also there to taunt things like Amoonguss or even Dondozo if it's not running the Oblivious set. There are even moments where you could taunt an Arcanine to force it into Snarl to be able to encore it with your Screamtail, giving you the freest switch into King Gambit. Now King Gambit is something that is surprisingly strong. I might make a video speaking about it itself because this thing does so much damage and a lot of people aren't actually aware of this. The reason we're running Black Glasses on King Gambit is so that Sucker Punch one-hit KOs Fluttermane all of the time. Now obviously if it goes Terra Fairy that won't be the case, but you have Iron Head for that, and that's kind of just a mix-up. Terastallization makes things very hard to read sometimes, but it's good to have the tools regardless. Now if you lead King Gambit into Arcanine and you Terra Dark the Pokemon holding the Black Glasses, Kowtow Cleave actually one-shots Arcanine if you get that Defiant boost, which is something a lot of players don't seem to know yet in the metagame because I've gotten away with that more times than I should. We're running that Garganical because this Pokemon is just really good at walling out those physical offensive threats. If there's something like a Scizor on the opposing team that's really tough for your double fairies to deal with, then sometimes you want to bring things like Gambit with Garganical and then Arcanine. Now Arcanine is a mon that has been a staple on VGC teams for eternity. If there's no Incineroar in the metagame, Arcanine usually just plays that role. It was playing it long before Incineroar ever existed, and we've got the safety goggles on there to deal with things like Amoonguss, of course. Now, I definitely hope you try out this team and you have some fun with it, and let me know how successful it goes for you. It definitely requires some playing around the board pretty well, but once you get the hang of it, you can really control the pace of a game and get opponents in these situations that they just don't really see coming, and you'll be able to do what you want to do, and they'll have to respond to your plays because you have tools for everything. These Pokemon cover each other really well. Now this was my first time ever making a video like this, going over a team and going over a Pokemon. If you liked it, then hey, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much. I'd love to hit 10k subscribers by the end of the year, and I know that's a stretch, but I feel super close and I know that we can do it. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.